Well, hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me. We are doing Numbers 31 today. I have this labeled War with Midian and Dividing the Booty. Oh, that's a really interesting thing. I think you're going to find this a fascinating topic. But I want to have us understand it in context. Look at the first thing we see. And Moses spoke to, and Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, "Take vengeance on the Midianites for Israel's seed." We still have Moses here. We saw Moses died in Numbers 27. I want to go back and help us to see the bigger picture, if you don't mind. I'm going to go to, let's start at 25. This is following the three chapters, chapter 25 this is following the three chapters in which we talked about Balaam. Remember, it was Moab and the Midianites Midianites encouraged Moab to bring Balaam down. Balaam down to curse us the way he and his dad cursed the Amalekites. No, the way the Amalekites had hired Balaam to curse Moab. That's what it was. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so they saw, well, that marked really good. Let's have him come and curse Israel for us. Well, this is what happened. He couldn't do it. Yehovah would not let him curse Israel. All he did was bless Israel. And Moab's king was furious. He basically kicked him out of the country. And we thought, kind of appeared in Torah, that Balaam went back to, where was he from? Way up south, up north. I forget what his place was. But instead he went to Midian. And it appears, more than appears, he encouraged the Midianites to seduce Israel two ways: with their women committing adultery, and with another Elohim, Baal Peor, kind of like Baal Jesus. This was Baal Peor. We went and worshiped and joined ourselves to Baal Peor and took their women. Many of them were married. That's why it was adulterous. Well, here, let me just read a little bit of 25. Now Israel remained in the Acacia Grove. That's Shittim. It's translated as Shittim. There it is right there, Shittim. Here it is, just so we know where we're talking about and where the battle is going on today. Though it's not much of a battle, it's just a couple verses. Here it is. We're in Shittim. Rava is in Midian. This town, Abel Karamim, is in Midian. This is where Midian is at. They seduced us here in Abel Shittim, Moab, and Midian. Look what it says. Now Israel remained in Shittim, and the people began to commit harlotry with Moab's women. It says Moab's women. It doesn't say Midian's women, but Midian was involved in it. They invited the people to sacrifice to their Elohims. And the people ate and bowed down to their Elohim. What are we talking about? sacrificed to their Elohims, ate and bowed down to their Elohims. Could we talk about Christmas dinner, Easter dinner? I think we could. It says, so the people joined themselves, so Israel joined to Baal Peor. Not Baal of Peor, it's Baal Peor, Lord Peor. Baal Peor, Lord Peor, just like we have Lord Jesus. And the anger of Yehovah was roused against Israel. What's the first commandment? I'm Yehovah, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim before my face. And Yehovah said to Moses, take all the leaders of the people, the leaders of the thousands, the leaders of the hundreds, the leaders of the 50s, the leaders of the tens, and hang the offenders before Yehovah out in the sun, that the fierce anger of Yehovah may turn from Israel. Well, they did. They cut off their heads. They started cutting off their heads, and they finally stopped cutting off their heads when Phinehas, verse 7, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, Phinehas is the priest, saw it. He rose up among the assembly and took a javelin in his hand and went after the man of Israel. Went after the man of Israel in the tent and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman. The woman was Cosbi. Here it is, verse 15. The name of the Midianite woman. Midianite woman. This is a Midianite woman. Let's say it wasn't just Moab. It was Midian involved in it as well. The daughter of Zor. So this was the striking. Now, Yehovah has us number Israel's seed immediately after this striking. I'm calling it the striking. They call it a plague. I don't see a plague. I see men getting their heads cut off and put on a pike. We numbered ourselves. We had 601,730 men of Israel, 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. There it is in verse 2. And so we numbered all those men. Next, we talked about the daughters of Zelophehad. Now, this is confusing because we have the first part of the daughters of Zelophehad in 27. We have the last part of the daughters of Zelophehad in 36. I think they should go together. But at the end of this, look what it says. It's the death of Moses. Here it is. It says, verse 12. And Yehovah said to Moses, go up to this mount, go up into this Mount Avarim, the Avarim mountains. That's a group of mountains, kind of like the Olympic mountains or the Rocky Mountains. This is the Avarim mountains. And see the land which I have given to Israel's seed. And when you have seen it, you shall be gathered to your people. Well, it looked like he was gathered to his people here. But we still have him talking because look what happens then. Now we have Moses commanding Israel's seed the things that we're supposed to bring for the spring feasts. Then we have Yehovah talking about the things that we're supposed to bring for the fall feasts. Then we talked about vows. That was last week. Now we're talking about going to war with Midian. So you see, things are not necessarily chronological. We have Moses talking today, and he died in 27. It's all about how the book has been organized. I want to go to Yasher just briefly. I think we're going to spend more time in Yasher next week. But let me show you what I found today. I knew it was here. I just had to look it up. Here's where we left off. The last verse we read in Yasher was about Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest. The priest is Phinehas, saw this wicked thing which Zimri had done, and he took a spear, rose up, and went after them, and pierced them both, and slew them. And the pestilence ceased from Israel's seed. Oh, he stopped the pestilence after they killed him. The men stopped. Is that what it means? The men stopped cutting off other people's heads? Because remember, it was the leaders who were killing them. It wasn't a pestilence. Yehovah told the leaders, kill the guys who joined themselves to Baal Peor. Well, then, in this one, we haven't got here yet, but we're going to, we numbered Israel. They came up with a different number. Remember, it was 701,730. This is 700,000, 700,730. It's just not quite the number. We had 601,730. So they have 700. They have 700,000 instead of 601,000. They got the 730 right. Regardless. So now we numbered the people. This is after the striking. And look what Yehovah says. Here it is in verse 6. And it was after this that Yehovah said to Moses, say unto Israel's seed to avenge upon Midian the cause of their brethren, Israel's seed. And Moses did so. And Israel's seed chose from among them 12,000 men. So this is kind of where we're at today. So in Yasher, what did we see? We saw the seduction of Israel's seed and the plague. Then we saw them being numbered and then going to war with Midian. These are really the three narratives that we just identified in Torah, minus Moses dying in the Avarim Mountains. But if we were to take Numbers 27, talking about the daughters of Zelophehad, and move them to the end of the chapter, where the last chapter that we talk about is the second part of the daughters of Zelophehad, then we'd have Moses dying at the correct time. I think that makes more sense than what we're seeing here in Torah. We have Moses dying in 27. He's still talking. How can he be dead? Let me go back. So 31 is what we're covering today. And Yehovah spoke to Moses saying, take vengeance on the Midianites. Why? For Israel's seed. Why are we taking vengeance? For Israel's seed. That's what Yasher said. Afterwards, you shall be gathered to your people. Look at this. Afterwards, you shall be gathered to your people. Hasn't he been gathered to his people already? But here it is. I have Moses dies in 27. He says in 25, he did tell us to harass the Midianites. We're just now seeing it. I think it happened before, but we're just now seeing it. Here, this is just one portion of 25, which we were talking about. And the name of the Midianite woman who was killed was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur. He was a king among the Midianites. He was a head. Oh, here it is right here. He's the head of the people of his father's house in Midian. Then Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, harass the Midianites and attack them. For they harassed you with their schemes. That's what they were, schemes, by which they seduced you in the matter of Peor, and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of a leader of Midian, their sister, who was killed in the day of the plague because of Peor. The plague, remember, it was more of a slaughter, a striking, as I think what I called it in 25, rather than a plague or a pestilence, or we called it a striking. That's what they were doing. They were striking these men who had joined themselves to Baal Peor. Israel serves only one Elohim. His name is Yehovah, the Elohim on the mountain. So Moses spoke to the people, saying, arm some of yourselves for war, and let them go against the Midianites, and take vengeance for Yehovah on Midian. Well, are we taking vengeance for the Midianites, for Israel's seed, in verse 2? Or are we taking vengeance for Yehovah on Midian? Probably the same. Israel's seed is Yehovah's son. Pretty much as a wash, isn't it? So what does it say? Verse 4. Or do I have a note? No, I don't. Verse 4. 1,000 from each tribe of all Israel's tribes you shall send to war. I always like you to see that word shalach. So there were recruited from Israel's divisions 1,000 from each tribe, 12,000 armed for war. And Moses sent them to war. 1,000 from each tribe. He sent them to war with Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the priest, with the holy articles. Remember, no, that's okay. Phinehas showed himself as a leader when he took out Zimri and Cosbi, didn't he? Sent him to war with Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the priest, with the holy articles and the signal trumpets in his hand. What are the holy articles? These are things that we have to ask ourselves. When we see Moses, afterwards you shall be gathered to your people. What? Hasn't he been gathered to his people yet? Well, no, not yet. Even though chapter 27 comes before chapter 31. We have to ask these questions. We got to make it make sense. Line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. That's how I found out Israel's seed is the Ezra men, the Ezra Haaretz. Oh, we see it all over the scriptures when we know what to look for. But when we have it covered by the native-born man and all that kind of stuff, then we just don't even have a clue. It's been hidden from us. I'm so grateful that we have some Hebrew to look back on. So where was I? Phinehas, verse 6. We're talking about holy articles. What holy articles went with Eleazar? I'm thinking ahead of what I'm going to say. Holy articles. What are the holy articles? There was a point, Numbers 14. Let me just go there. Here it is. We are going to war. No, we had just found out in this chapter that we were going to remain in the wilderness for 40 years, that we were going to die, and our sons, who we said were going to die, were going to live and take our place in the promised land. And we were so upset. What did we do? No, I guess I should backtrack just a little bit. We were upset when we found out that we were going to stay in the land. And because Yehovah told us to take our swords, we're going to go to take care of these guys. And we said, no, we're not going to do it. Our sons are going to die. Or we're going to die. Our sons are going to die. You know, let me see if I can find that. Here. The carcasses of you. Yeah, the carcasses of you who are complaining against me shall fall in the wilderness, all of you who are numbered according to your entire number from 20 years old and above. So everybody was going to die. But your little ones, verse 31, whom you said would be victims, I will bring into the land, and they shall have the land in which you despise. So we didn't fight. So now we decided we're going to fight. But we didn't bring the holy things with us when we went up to the mountains. It says here, let me start here. And the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you. I'm reading verse 43. And you shall before you, and you shall fall by the sword, because you turned away from Yehovah, and Yehovah will not be with you. But they presumed to go to the mountains. Nevertheless, neither the ark of the covenant of Yehovah nor Moses departed from the camp. So what we're talking about is the ark going with us. Now, going back to where we were just at, here's another one. This is us getting ready to take over Jericho. Look what it says. Really, I think I'll just read the last verse in this. It says, verse 6. Then Joshua, the son of Nun, called the priests and said to them, take up the ark of the covenant, and let the 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of Yehovah. So I think this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the holy articles and the signal trumpets. Now, the signal trumpets, I would tend to think they would be the silver trumpets. Here's another one of the same things. And the 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of ram horns. So they're saying 7 trumpets of ram horns before the ark went on continually and blew the trumpets. So I think this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the holy articles. Where were we? Yes, here we are. Now verse 7. And they warred against the Midianites, just as Yehovah commanded Moses, and they killed all the males. The word here that they're using for males is zakar. That is a male. They killed all the males. Zakar. Well, old males, young males? Doesn't say, does it? This says all the males. They killed the kings of Midian with the rest of those who were killed. Evi, Rechem, Zur. I highlighted Zur because Zur is Cosby's father. And Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. And Balaam, the son of Peor, they also killed with the sword. This is why I say Balaam was the one who inspired them to deceive Israel, corrupt Israel in a hope of gaining ground with Israel. It didn't work. 24,000 of us died in the striking. But all these guys died also when we took revenge. They burned. Well, here, no, I want to go on, read a couple things for you. Here is 25. I Cosby, the daughter of Zur. I was just pointing out Zur. This is the verse we just did, 31 and 8 and 9. This verse, the next verse. But here's Yasher. And Moses did so, and Israel's seed chose from among them 12,000 men, being 1,000 to a tribe. And they went to Midian, and Israel's seed warred against Midian, and they slew every male. says every male. Also the 5 kings of Midian and Balaam, the son of Peor, they also they slayed with the sword. And Israel's seed took Midian's women captive, and their little ones, and their cattle, and all belonging to them. That's what the rest of this chapter is going to be about. Verse 9. And Israel's seed took the Midian's women captive with their little ones, and took as spoil all their cattle, all their flocks, and all their goods. The word they used for spoil, what was that? Bazaz. It gets translated plunder, or maybe I translated it plunder. Regardless, we'll find out what plunder is and what spoil is. Maybe even, I guess it's going to be a little bit longer. Let's see what happens. Here's Midian's women, Nashim. This says Nash. That's where it comes from. Nashim is the full version if you were going to talk about women, but because they're Midians, Nashim, the transliteration uses this yod just to say they belong to Midian. This is Midian's women, but it's using Nash, so we know it's a whole bunch of women, and they're tough. That's the little ones that we're talking about, which are boys and girls, normally speaking. And in this case, they are boys and girls. I put, when do we ever leave a foreign woman who has known a man alive? We generally don't. Well, look what's going to happen now as we progress through this. They also burned with fire all the cities where they dwelt and all their forts. The cities, it is actually guarded places, and their forts are strongholds. I would assume that they began destroying them when they attacked, and then they burned them up. Didn't want to have that place for them to fall back on. So now, verse 11, it says, and they took all the spoil. Think of spoil as the goods. Lampstands, silver lampstands, gold coins, silver coins, all the things of value. That's the spoil. But it also says, where are we? They took, verse 11, they took all the spoil and all the booty of man and beast. Booty is what is flesh and blood, breathing, man and beast. In this case, we're talking about nashim and children and livestock. That's the beast, is this word here, behemah, 4-footed animals. And we're going to see how they're going to be divided up very shortly. They took all the spoil, what's the word they use for spoil, shalal, and the booty is melkaak, the booty in Adam and in livestock. In Adam, I was talking about the ladies and the kids and the livestock. Now, the next verse makes it a little bit more clear even. I can read it on the right. And they took the spoil, shalal, and the booty, the makoak, in Adam and in beast. And they brought the captives, the booty, and the spoil. So they brought the captives, is the booty, and the spoil, to Moses, to Eleazar the priest, and Israel's seats, and to Israel's seats assembly, to the camp in the plain of Moab, by the Jordan, across from Jericho. That is, what did I say it was? Shittim. That's where they brought it. But they couldn't go into camp. Look what the next verse says. And Moses and Eleazar, the priest, and all the leaders of the congregation, the assembly, that's Adad, the word that they use there. I didn't put it in, I guess. Went to meet them outside the camp, not inside the camp. Can't go inside the camp. Why? Because they touched dead people. They killed people. They touched these corpses. But Moses was angry. Look what it says. Moses was angry. You have to ask yourself, why is he angry? But Moses was angry with the officers of the army, with the captains over 1,000 and the captives over hundreds, who had come from the battle. And Moses said to them, have you kept all the women alive? That's why he's angry. What are you doing? You kept the women alive. They're the ones who corrupted us. They're the ones who committed adultery with us. And you kept them all alive? Yeah, you can kind of see Moses saying, hello, what are you doing? There it is. Look. What's the word they use for look? I wonder what that is. Just out of curiosity. Let's see. Behold. Behold. Hein. Lo. Behold. Just curious. I question everything. I like to find out new things. It says, look. These women caused Israel's seed through the counsel of Balaam. See, it was Balaam who caused this to happen, to trespass against Yehovah in the incident of Peor. And there was a plague, a striking among Yehovah's assembly. Striking. Remember, we cut their heads off, put them on a pike. Now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones. Listen to what he's saying, you guys. Does this run a bit contrary to the doctrines and traditions of men that we have all learned? I think it does. Now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman who has known a man intimately. So we're going to kill all the kids, all the male boys, no matter how old they are. They might be just born. We're only going to have virgins there. So here's my question. I said, so they did not kill every male before when they left all the Zakar, but they left the Zakar Toph alive. They left the young men alive. Now they are to die as well, along with the women who have known a man by lying with him. What is the process of determining who's a virgin? What is that process? But keep alive for yourselves all the young girls who have not known a man intimately. Again, how are they going to identify who's known a man intimately? I guess, that will remain a mystery. Do they have the ladies come and check them out somehow? Somehow they're going to have to determine who's known a man, who hasn't known a man. And as for you, this is again Moses and Eleazar talking to Israel's seed who went to war. Remain outside the camp 7 days. Whoever has killed any person, whoever has touched any slain, purify yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day. and on the seventh day. So there's men, they killed other men, but even if their weapon just touched them, they probably went through their pockets looking for spoil, money, whatever kind of money they have, gold, silver, whatever. They're touched the captives. Now they got to get purified, and this is something that we talked about in Numbers 19 when we talked about the red heifer and purification from the dead. In that we talked about water, and that's going to come up here as well. It says, purify every garment, everything made of leather, everything woven of goat's hair, and everything made of wood. Then Eleazar, the priest, verse 21, said to the men of war who had gone to battle, this is the ordinance of the law which Yehovah commanded Moses. Now he goes on, he says, only the gold, the silver, the bronze, the iron, the tin, and the lead, everything that can endure fire, you shall put through the fire, and it shall be clean. Now it says, and it shall be purified. Let me show you what it actually says. Howbeit, the water of Nadah, howbeit the waters of Nadah purify. So he's not saying and put this stuff through the water. No, we're talking about howbeit the waters of Nadah purify. So what are the waters of Nadah? I'm going to try and explain this to you. He goes, let me finish the verse. But howbeit the waters of Nadah purify. It's kind of like an afterthought or something that's setting us up for the next verse. And all that cannot abide fire shall go through the waters. So the fire or the metals are not going to be covered by the waters. This is the stuff that can't go through the fire is going to be covered by the waters. It says where is this? This must be Numbers 19. And a man that is clean shall gather up the heifer's ashes and lay them up without the camp in a clean place. And it shall be kept for the assembly of Israel's seed for water of separation. There it is. Water of Nadah. That's what we're talking about. Water of Nadah. It closes the breach. They say it's for a sin. Waters of Nadah. I guess. Oh, that's on this verse. It closes the breach. It is kind of like a sin offering. It is a kata'ah. Kata'ah. There it is. Closes the breach. And the one who gathers the ashes of the heifer shall wash his clothes and be clean until evening. It shall be a statute forever to Israel's seed and to the stranger who dwells with you. He who touches the dead body of anyone shall be unclean 7 days. He shall purify himself with the water, the waters of Nadah, on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. Then he shall be clean. But if he does not purify himself on the 3rd day and on the 7th day, he will not be clean. Whoever touches the body of anyone who has died and does not purify himself defiles the tabernacle of Yehovah. That person shall be cut off from among Israel. He shall be unclean because the water of purification, the water of Nadah, was not sprinkled on him. His uncleanliness is still upon him. Now, this word Nadah we saw early on in Leviticus. We were talking about separation. A woman in her menses. Here, look what it says. Everything that she lies upon in her impurity shall be unclean. Also, everything that she sits on shall be unclean. Her impurity, her nadah, her separation shall be unclean. Also, everything that she sits on shall be unclean. So this is where we saw this word come up. So waters of Nadah. A woman who's on her, no, I should say, remember we talked about I forget what it was. Two different kinds of, let's just go there. It's easy. We were talking about, let me just put a underscore on here and take me right to it. There we are. Impurity. We were talking about Zav and Zuv, I believe it was. Let's see if I can find those two words. It's not on this note here. Zav. Her female normal is her Zav. The Zuv was the abnormal one, but the woman who is in her menses, at the end of her menses, she brings 2 turtle doves. No, that would be a woman who has the discharge, the Zuv. A Zav, which is a Zuv. I know, and you got to go back and listen to some of my teachings on this. This is such interesting stuff, and it's so neat to see how this all fits together. But we're talking about the waters of Nadah. This is at the end of it, she's going to bring 2 turtle doves to be cleansed. She's going to bring them to the priest at the door of the tabernacle, and they're going to kill one of the birds, and the other one is going to be no, I take that back. She's going to burn, the priest is going to burn one of the birds as a olah. And I don't remember what happens to the other bird. I was thinking that she was going to bring it with the blood and the red sash, the wood, and let's just skip that for right now. I'm getting too far away. Let's go back to where we were. 31:23. We're talking about closing the breach and rejection. So they are already separated, though this is bringing the ones who are separated back into the fold, in a sense, is what we're talking about with these waters. And you shall wash your clothes on the 7th day and be clean. And afterwards you may come into the camp. Now Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, count up the plunder that taken of man and beast, you and Eleazar the priest and the chief fathers of the assembly. Where it says congregation, we're talking about assembly. And divide the plunder in 2 parts. So we're taking the plunder of man and beast, and we're dividing it in 2. Between those who took part in the war and those who took part in the war, those who went out to battle, and all the assembly, all the rest of Israel. And levy a tribute for Yehovah on the men of war who went out to battle, 1 of every 500 persons, cattle, donkey, and zaon, sheep and goats. Take it from their half and give it to Eleazar the priest as a heave offering. It's as a present. So here's what we're talking about. Your present, as a present, Tavrama is a present to Yehovah. The present to Yehovah is going to go to Eleazar the priest. He's the chief man under Yehovah. And from Israel's seeds half, so they're also going to give a tribute. You shall take 1 of every 50 drawn from the persons, the cattle, the donkeys, the sheep, Zeon, sheep and goats, from all the livestock, and give it to the Levites, who keep charge of Yehovah's tabernacle. This is Yehovah's tribute again. Notice Moses didn't get anything. But Joshua didn't get anything either. Eleazar went with them. Eleazar's getting a portion of it. Now, did Eleazar fight? Is a priest going to fight? No, a priest is not going to fight in a war. But he was there with the trumpets, with the ark of Yehovah, and he gets a portion. Now, verse 30, it says, I guess we read that. I expected to see something different on this note. Maybe it's still coming. No, where'd it go? Oh, here it is right here. A levy of tribute. This is a levy, a tribute to Yehovah on the men of war who went. One of every 500 is going to go to here. Here's what I did. Because they're going to tell us very shortly how much of everything was taken. And we're going to read that in the next verse that we were going to cover. So Moses and Eleazar and the priest did as Yehovah commanded. And the booty remaining from the plunder which the men of war had taken was 675,000 sheep. So we're going to do the Zeon first. They put sheep. It's Zeon is the word they're using. And it is 675,000. Half of 675,000 is 337,500. So the warriors got half and the people got half. Of the warriors' half, 1 in 500 went to Eleazar. That means that Eleazar, and I would think this is Eleazar's family for all the priests, because this is for all the Levites, got 675 sheep. That's a lot of sheep. Of the donkeys, look at the next verse, and Jehovah's tribute from the sheep was 675,000, and the cattle was 36,000. Here it is right here, cattle. 36,000, which Jehovah's tribute was 72. So here is the 36,000 of the cattle, and 72 is what the priests were going to get. Now it says the donkeys, 30,500. So there is donkeys, 30,500. Half of that, it was actually 61,000. So half of that would be 30,500. And the tribute was 61. So that the priest got 61 donkeys. But now look what it says. The persons, these are all the virgin women, young and old. The persons were 16,000, 32,000 altogether. 16,000, so they got 32. Eleazar is getting 32 more women added to his family. Let's say it like that. Are these concubines? Are these going to become wives? I tend to think that they will. They have no men with them anymore. They're virgins. Remember, Israel marries virgins. I think this is going to increase the priesthood exponentially. not only for Eleazar. I don't think they're all going to be Eleazars, but there's not that many priests. Remember, there's only Eleazar and Ithamar were the two priests, the sons of Aaron. Then Eleazar has Phinehas, who's also a priest. Phinehas is the one who led these people when they went. They don't have a lot of priests. This is going to increase the size of the priesthood exponentially when these men start taking all these women to have more priests. So Moses gave the tribute, which was Yehovah's present, to Eleazar the priest, as Yehovah commanded Moses. Yehovah's tribute. There it is again, the Teruma Yehovah. And this is, and from the children of, and from Israel's seed's half, which Moses separated from the men who fought. Now the half belonging to the congregation was 300,700. I think I've got it here. Here I have it again. Was 300,077. Same numbers. 337,500. 36,000 cattle. Here it is here. 36,000 cattle. 30,000 donkeys, 16,000 persons, virgins. And from Israel's seed's half, Moses took one of every 50 drawn from man and beast and gave them to the Levites, who kept charge of the tabernacle of Yehovah, as Yehovah commanded Moses. So now we're going to go through what these people are going to cost. Now look what it says. Maybe they're not even going to spell out what each one of them was, but I did it because these Levites, remember there's 23,000 Levites. Oh, yeah. I guess I used, when I was figuring out how many people there was, there was 601,000. I rounded it off to 600 just to make it easier. And the warriors were 12. So when you have 12 plus 88, you get to 600,000 instead of 601,000. So that means the Levites are going to get 6,750 sheep and goats. They're going to get 720 cattle. Donkeys are going to get 610, and virgins are going to get 320. 320 virgins divided into 23,000. How is that going to work out? You know, we have the priests. The priests are only the sons of Aaron. So we have Kohath, Merari, and Gershom. For each tribe is going to get roughly 107 women per tribe. They're going to have to divvy them up. Keep in mind, some of these women are very young. They're going to probably use some of the women of the older women to take care of the younger women. Infants even. So there's a lot of logistics that are going to have to take place to make all this work out. But we're basically looking at 100 per tribe of the Levites. Remember, Kohath has tribes. Not all Kohath seed are priests, though. They're not sons of Aaron. The priests are all sons of Aaron. For Aaron and his sons, I mean, that's 32. What are they going to do at 32 virgins? Again, some are going to be taken care of. They're bringing them in their family. You know, they're not all necessarily going to become childbearing people. They may just simply be handmaids and and Ama is a work ones. I forget what the handmaids are called. But yeah, they're servants. And if you marry one of these, again, are they going to be a concubine? I don't know. They're virgins. I'm not sure they would necessarily be concubine, but if they are started as servants, they're probably going to continue as, if they become intimate with their masters, eventually be concubines. I don't know. Don't know how the process works with that. So, every 50, we did that. Now we're on verse 48. Then the officers, who were over thousands of the army, and the captains of thousands and the captains of hundreds came to Moses. And they said to Moses, your servants have taken count of the men of war who are under our command, and not a man of us is missing. Nobody in Israel's seed died in this attack on Midian. You know, you don't see this, but when we went through Yasher, we many, many times saw when Israel's seed went to war, nobody died. And the casualties on the other side were enormous. Hundreds of thousands of men were killed, but Israel's seed always survived intact. So interesting. Here it is again. Not one of us, not a man of us is missing. Therefore, we brought an offering. What did we bring? We have brought a korban for Yehovah of what? Or of what a man has gotten. Ornaments of gold, chain, bracelets, earrings, and bars for covering over our souls before Yehovah. They're thanking Yehovah for preserving them all alive. They're bringing an offering as a thanksgiving offering, a korban. That's what an offering is. In this case, they actually use that word, korban. That's why I have it in green. So Moses and Eleazar, verse 51, the priest received the gold from them, all the fashioned ornaments, and all the gold of the offering that they offered, all the presents which they lifted to Yehovah from the captains of thousands and the captains of hundreds was 16,750 shekels. That's a lot of money. And the men still had their own. I mean, they got a lot of stuff too. That's the offering they gave, every man. And the men of war had taken spoil, every man for himself. So whatever every man got, every man kept. But he gave an offering to Yehovah, and the captains of thousands and the captains of hundreds brought it to Yehovah. And Moses and Eleazar, the priest, received the gold from the captains of thousands and the captains and the hundreds, and brought them into the tabernacle of meeting as a memorial to Israel's seed. You can't even see that. We fix that as a memorial to Israel's seed before Yehovah. My last note. As a memento, Zikran is what they're talking about, a memento, a memorial for Israel's seed before Yehovah. In the context, this is a thank you to Yehovah for Israel's seed, that from Israel's seed that no one died. That's what it is. It's a thank you. We appreciate that. Anyway, that finishes our chapter for today. Let's see what we're going to do next week. Let me slide this over. Okay. Right about there is where I like it. And next week, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh getting their land on the east side of the Jordan. I think that's actually going to be a pretty short one. It's still very long, but it's something where there's not a lot of notes. I don't have a lot of notes for something like this. Since there's a lot of numbers, we'll use a map to kind of sort it out and see where everybody's going. But I think we can make it interesting for you. At any rate, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or whatever the affirmation is and share it with somebody else, and I'd be very grateful. All right, y'all. You have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.